It's three guys who combined to play 15 seasons in the National Football League trenches. Well, two guys. And Mackey, who didn't do shit. He just sits there and looks pretty. This is the O-Line Committee.
Two-thirds of the O-Line committee there.
Hello, Alex.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Sun's out, guns out this week in the Twin Cities, man.
Hot as hell. I love it. Outside, got our championship game tonight, 11U. Boys finished second in the state. Huh?
Wow, let's go.
By the way, can I just say, I heard all the sexist comments from all the guys like, yo, are you really coached by a chick? And I was like, yeah, it's my wife. This is awkward, isn't it? God damn.
Why do we listen? My mom
Everybody
coached
was like,
all of my youth baseball teams, and she was awesome too. Like, people need to pump the brakes on that.
Everybody's like, is that really a woman? Is she the head coach? I'm like, yeah, it's my wife, dude. Chill out.
You're damn right.
All right?
Yeah, you teaching these kids how to throw, you like teaching them with the weighted ball, get the velocity up as 11-year-olds.
We did
throw some
velos
sliders
last night for the last day off the tee, and it was so fun to watch the boys try to hit as hard as they could to get that velo out of control. Like, we had so much fun. I'll tell you what, I think about my football practices, and I'm really harsh. Like, I don't ever find time to have fun, but she is always like, we got to have fun today somehow. So she's like, last practice, we're going to do all these games, have all this fun. Dude, the boys had a blast. I ended up having a blast. I was hitting off the velo. I was like, this is insane. Dude, we should have played baseball. We should have. It is a difference. I'm telling you, bro.
I think you guys could have hit some bombs as baseball players.
I don't have great rotation.
You don't trust me.
No, you're trying.
No.
You're
Don't
trying
have-
rotation.
don't have
You'd have
great
been a
rotation.
phenomenal first baseman, dude. Phenomenal. Just
Yeah, dude.
My golf game
Thump.
says otherwise.
Yeah. Teach you how to do the splits at
When you
first
coming
base.
up to play, bro? Let's go. Let's get the
Well,
sticks.
I'll be up soon.
Come on now, man. Let's do it. All right, talk to us,
Gentlemen,
man.
it's time for another Dumb Football Questions episode here of O-Line Committee. By the way, thank you guys for helping us get to 4,000 YouTube subscribers. We've got the Apple podcast feed and the Spotify podcast feed up and running. So if you could just help us grow the channels here by giving us a subscribe click, or on the podcast front, a 5-star rating and a positive review, we can keep growing this thing as we head into the season. Happy training camp week. I don't know if it gives you guys PTSD or not, but training camp is here. And my first dumb football question is actually, so usually we pull these from the audience, and we have a couple from the audience, but I have one just that I'm curious about. So Cowboys offensive guard, elite offensive guard Zack Martin is holding out. He's one of a few players that are holding out, high-profile players, seeking a restructured contract. So I guess my question, you can answer this on behalf of like your thoughts on Zack Martin specifically, but also just like generally speaking, how do players in the locker room, teammates of the player who's holding out, generally feel about that?
Go ahead, Alex, because I never held out.
It's great. So
Did you hold out
your boy
An
was
entire training camp. An
your boy was
entire
one of-
training
with the
camp.
Niners?
Listen.
Was it with the Niners?
Listen, I'm going to tell you the whole story.
Listen, Linda.
And I'm glad you brought this up. Because I held out back when you could actually not show up, and they didn't get, like, they would tell
It's
you
50
that
grand a day, and you
So,
can't make it up on the back end now.
Here's how it works. When I did it, you could hold out, and then at the end, they rescinded all the fines because everybody before us rescinded all their fines. So that's how you have to follow the trend, right? And so when you miss mandatory minicamp, you get fined by the league. You get that fine. It's an $88,000 fine. I remember looking at my check like, yo, I didn't agree to this. And they were like, the league says that they don't care. Because you missed a mandatory minicamp, you will get fined this money, which is fine. But I remember my teammates sent me pictures every day of the fine board of mine. And like after 2 weeks, it's like $250,000 fine. They're all sitting there laughing at it like, dude, you're about to get fined so much money. It better be worth it. But it's funny because like, as you're talking to your agents and they're talking to the team, they're trying to work things out and they're trying to do all these things. And they're like, listen, we're not going to fine you at the end of this. Like, we have to make it look like we are going to, but at the end, we will rescind everything as long as we come to terms on everything. And you're like, yeah. My biggest argument was the minute the players got rid of that, they lost all their leverage. You have officially lost your leverage because when you say I'm holding out, you're like, I'm never going to play football again. I'm willing to give it up forever. I'm not paid correctly and I'm not treated right. Like, this is not going to happen. I see everybody else getting paid a ton of money and they don't do shit. This will not happen. And mine happened though because the team came to me and was like, we want to extend you. We want to offer you this huge. Like, I was like, all right, sweet, let's do it. But it was in the middle of the season. I was like, listen, let's finish the season. I want to just focus on football. Like, talk to Jay about whatever you're doing, whatever. And then at the end of the year, they were like, we want to get this done. And I was like, okay, cool. And I went away to train. And then when I came back, they were like, "Hey, never mind, we're not going to do it." I was like, "Dude, what's going on? Like, I'm like the lowest paid guard in the league." And
this is coming off your rookie deal, right?
No, this was coming off my second. This was after I signed an extension to be the swing tackle. And then that camp I came in, they were like, Staley called me a day before and was like, "Hey, they're going to move you to guard, just to let you know." And so then I came in and started at guard forever. And then it was like 3 years after that. And I was like, "Hey, man, I got to get something." And they were like, "Yeah, we agree." And then all of a sudden at the end, it was me and Bulky going back and forth and him just kind of, and he really was like, they try to berate you the whole time. Like they're just talking down to you the whole time. And it's like really bad. And it's like, "You want to go to war with us? This is how it is." And it's like, "Listen, man, like I don't need to do all this." So I ended up staying away. But there were other circumstances. Like people were in my corner that probably shouldn't have been, that were like, "Yo, bro, no matter what, we have your back on this. Like we appreciate you holding out and doing all this, and you deserve this." So I was like, "All right, I guess I'm going to have to do it." And so I stayed away 30 days, came back, signed the new deal, and was good to go. And to be fair, I offered, because I had like 3 years left on my deal. I was like, "Listen, just let me play this year at minimum, and I will donate every check to charity. So I'll play for free." And they were like, "Ooh, that's a good idea," because it's good publicity for everybody, right? Like everybody's like, "Oh, we're going to redo this deal, but it's a 1-year deal, and he's going to donate it all to charity just to get out of this contract." And it was going to go through, and then they were like, "No, that's not. We can't with that. That sounds too smart for Boone. Like, what's going on over here?"
Wait, so your goal was you wanted to hit free agency after the season?
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to get to free agency, and the problem was I didn't want to leave Frisco. I loved Harbaugh. I loved the way he did things. I loved the culture out there. I loved my teammates. I loved everything about it. Like I was like, I want to be here, but I want to be paid fairly. And my biggest thing was I was the starting right guard, and I backed up both tackles. So at times, like I played Robert Quinn the year he had 22 sacks at left tackle after starting the game at right guard. And in the 5th play, Joe went down. I had to go play left tackle, and it's like, there's a big discrepancy here. I'm getting paid like $300,000. This guy's getting paid $25 million. You want me to go out here and do what? They're like, "Just do you, bro. Just do you." Ended up beating his ass, and I was like, "All right, where's mine?" And they were like, "We got you. We got you." And then when it came time to be like, "We got you," they were like, "We don't got you." And I was like, "That's not fair business. That ain't cool." And then there were some things said about like, "You should take this deal. It's good for someone like coming from your family." And I was like,
Oh yeah.
I know nobody just said that about my family. So I was like, now it just became personal.
But you guys must be like, and it bothers me when I hear fans rag on the players. I'll almost always give NFL players a pass on this, because your career could be over in a blink if the wrong guy rolls up on you.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know how, Jeremiah, you chime in here, but like, if you feel like, hey, I might only be able to do this for another couple years or a year or 5 years or whatever it is, I want to maximize this for my family. I generally, as a fan, media guy, don't have a problem with that. Where are you at, Jeremiah?
I'm somewhere in the middle because, I agree. You should be paid. You should be paid fairly. You should do all those things. But you also have to understand, like, the market gets reset every single year. Like, I mean, look, I promise you within the next 12 to 24 hours after Justin Herbert's contract signed, Joe Burrow's going to come out and it's going to be even bigger, right? And so when you sign, and the Cowboys are notorious for this, for signing long deals, right? Which is why Zack Martin's deal comes to play. I think it was a 6-year or 5-year deal, right? Like, so they're notorious for signing long-term deals because they want to lock you in to this market so that in 4 years, if you're still playing at an unreal level, you've got 2 years left on your contract and you signed it, right? That's what they're going to say. They're going to say, you signed it. And so for me, it's kind of back and forth. Like, yes, there is a very much need. You should get paid as much as you want. But you have to understand the risks that are inherent of signing those long-term deals is the market's going to keep getting reset. Guys are going to keep getting paid more and more money. And you kind of have to play through it at times because, like Boone said, once we took in the CBA and we took the holdouts out to where they can't rescind those fines, like you as a player don't have a lot of leverage unless you're truly willing to sign a check every 24 hours for $50,000 a day.
It's a lot of money, dude. That's a lot
like
of money.
That adds up really, really fast. Really fast.
I think at the end of it, you get penalized like $1.9 million was the total fine.
If you miss all of camp.
Yeah,
if you miss all of camp, it's almost
like
$2 million.
If you miss games,
and you got to remember that's
Games,
post-tax.
that's a fine. Yes.
That's pre-tax. That's pre-tax. It is.
They take that right out of your check.
They take that right out of your check, right? Like
how about the running back market has been talked about, the last couple of years, and there's like 10 or 12 top running backs that hopped on a Zoom call a couple days ago, like, okay, how can we band together and put a stop to this and get rightfully paid, right? And like a day later, Saquon Barkley says, actually, I think I'm just gonna sign this. Give me like another $1 million.
I think it went the other way. I think the call went the other way. I think the call was more along the lines of like, hey, this isn't getting fixed this year. Like, and hey, we watched what happened to Le'Veon Bell. We watched him sit out of football for an entire year, come back, be trash, got paid, but now he's not in the league.
Well, he did box Adrian Peterson for a couple bucks last year. So
yeah, but I think they kind of were like, listen, we're not going to fix this, and this is where I have a really hard time because I can 100% see the team's perspective on a running back. 1,000,000,000%.
Unfortunately.
Like, I can see it, right? You have a guy that balls out as a rookie, like Saquon said. We get punished for being good, right? You ball out as a rookie on your rookie deal, and now you're like, all right, my turn to ring the cash register, my turn to get mine. I want my 4-year big-time extension. But tell me a running back that's elite in year 8. Like, it just doesn't happen. They take such a beating over and over and over again that, like, you as a team can't say, I'm going to pay this guy $20 million, $19 million a year for the next 4 years because you just know the production's not going to be there, and you got to pay other positions. Like, I think they were like, listen, get what you can, make the most out of it, and then, like, try again next year because it's just one of those things that the market's not going to change for running backs just because of the beating in which they take.
And Jay just said it. The market's not going to change. So if I'm Miami, I know that if I offer 5, the Patriots aren't going to offer 15.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the market will never just jump up like crazy. So everybody's sitting back going, hey, we're not paying our running backs. And everyone else is like, yeah, we aren't either. So everyone's like, okay, well, then the market just dropped completely. It's like the stock market, right? Everyone just pulled out. But also, too, think about where these offenses are trying to go. They're trying to go to this air. They want to throw the ball. They want their quarterbacks to be elite. They have to find a reason to pay them $500 million. Well, why are we paying one guy $500 million to throw it and then another guy $100 million to run it? Like, that's the entire cap of our team, guys. Like, eventually, this is just kind of the natural process, right? Like, we saw the fullback position started to die, and now all of a sudden the running back position is becoming more of this scat back. Can he catch a ball out of the backfield? Can he do all these things? Can he line up at receiver? Can he do all these things? Like, it's growing. And I feel bad for the running backs because we know how valuable they are. I know how important they are, and to find one is so hard. But when no one's willing to pay them, the market will not rise. Like, even if if the top guys were to be like, we're not going to play, you might see the Titans jump up and be like, all right, well, we'll pay our guy.
I mean, there's a few reasons for that, too. They point back to things like Todd Gurley. They point back to guys like Melvin Gordon. Right? There's guys that have signed big-time deals, and then their bodies just fall apart. Right? The new analytic that's running around the league, and this analytic, and we've heard it a lot from the agent side of it, is the one that's running rampant, and one of the main drivers of the running back market fall is there's a stat out now that it's 4 years or 400 carries. Whichever comes first is when you start to see the drastic decline of a running back.
Wait, 400 total carries?
400 total touches in the NFL, right? 400 total touches in the NFL, right? So you're talking about if a guy plays his rookie year, his rookie contract, or he carries the ball 400 times. Whichever comes first, the stat is astronomically, like, looking at it, if it's just a gradual drop-off from there. There's the few anomalies, right? There's the Christian McCaffreys. There's a few of those guys, but you got to remember, Christian's missed, like, entire years based off of being hurt, right? Like, so that's the main driver of that. And also guys are seeing, like, hey, I'll just draft a running back in the 4th through the 7th round every single year, and eventually one's going to be the next Aaron Jones from Green Bay, right? One of them is going to end up being the next Austin Eckler, right? Like, you just have to keep taking shots at it, and then that's why the market's also, like, there's plenty of guys that'll go play running back.
Right.
Like, there's plenty of them. It just sucks that the guys that Saquon's exactly right. If you do really well and you're a workhorse and you get pounded for 4 years and killed, you're not going to get paid. It sucks.
We brought this up on Purple Daily, my other podcast. We're talking about, like, the Dalvin Cook situation, and he's still sitting out there as we record this. The Vikings have kind of done this for 15 years. Adrian Peterson was this highly paid, and he's one of the greatest of all time, as a runner. But you also couldn't play him on third down, which is a discussion. And then Dalvin Cook was more of a 3-down back. But here's a crazy thing. So the Vikings, before Adrian Peterson, one of their sort of running back by committee guys was Moeldy Moore. And then he went on to Pittsburgh. Moeldy Moore he's not like a 200 carry bell cow guy. But Moeldy Moore averaged the same yards per carry with the Vikings over 4 years as Adrian Peterson did. And so I'm not saying I'm not saying Mweldy's a better running back than Peterson. I'm saying offensive line, scheme. There's so many things that go into a running game. The running back's value, even if he's putting up 1,500 yards every year, sort of gets like stuck in the spin cycle of, well, if we have a great offensive line and a great, run game coordinator or something.
Well, I mean,
you can't plug a guy like me in, but like you can plug in a professional
Dallas.
running back, right?
Dallas had Zeke for how many years? He was great, and then he kind of fell off. They bring in Tony Pollard, and he picks right up where he left off, right? Like, is that because Zeke got old and slow, or is it because he's not very good, right? It's a combination of the two, but it's also like Tony Pollard's young, quick, spry, really good offensive line in front of him, like, so he had a lot of success, right? That's what people view the running back position as right now.
Yeah.
But to go back to your question, I don't think anybody in Dallas is like yelling at Zack Martin to show up. You know what I'm saying? Like, eventually as a teammate, you have to sit back and be like, listen, that's his business. That's the one thing you can never do, and that should be noted, is you're not allowed to jump into anyone else's business.
No.
Ever. Like, if somebody's holding out and you call them and you're like, man, this is bullshit, you're going to get your ass beat. Like, stay out of my business. I didn't ask you to come in here. You have no idea what's going on. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. And that's why everybody's always just kind of like laughs about stuff and just kind of makes funny jokes about it. They try to mess with you, but nobody would care.
Yeah. Okay, so great stuff there. Little 16-minute question one to start with. Love it. So, I like this one because sometimes it does feel like, fans get lost in the vernacular of football conversation. So D. Noslin chimes in here on the O-Line Committee YouTube comment section. From a dumb high school center, he says, what the hell is 11 or 12 personnel? What do those numbers mean?
Did a center just
Stop
ask
it? He's
that?
in high school. Stop it.
Okay, I didn't hear that. I thought
He's
he
in high
was in
school.
college.
He's in high school.
So
Okay.
11, 12, 23, 20.
13,
like when,
22.
what does all that crap mean?
Yeah, Jay.
Fantastic. Yep. So when we say personnel, right, that's called personnel. So the number system is you're saying how many running backs. Wait, let me get this right. 21, two backs. No,
You want me to explain it to the audience?
stop it. The first number is how many running backs are on the field. The second number is how many tight ends are on the field.
R then
Right?
S then T.
Right. So if you say
And running backs includes fullbacks, right?
yes, just backs, right?
Okay.
I mean backs.
If
right?
you want
so
them
when
to be the F position and the R position. Like, that's why this gets a little complicated, but Jay will tell you.
very simple, right? So if you want to say, hey, 11 personnel, one running back, one tight end, usually 3 receivers, right? Is that math?
So we're
out of
usually
my head?
subtracting the math from 5 total skill position players most of the time.
Yes.
Correct.
But there's
All the
jumbo
time.
packages.
Right. So then, so flip it. You could go 23, 2 backs, 3 tight ends. Right. So it's always based off of back tight end is the way you go. And the reason we use those is because you can have different types of formations. Right. You can have 21 pony. Right. Which is 2 fast running backs instead of a back and a fullback. Right. So there's vernaculars to it. Right. Like when you can have 10 personnel. Right. Just 0 tight ends. Right. All receivers. Right, there's all the way 1 running back, right, and then you have 01 personnel, which is no running backs and all so it really just dives into that. But the biggest reason to know that is because that's going to tell you what kind of defense you're facing.
Boom.
Right, you're gonna have sub defense or you're gonna have base defense, right? So a sub defense means they take 1 linebacker off the field, so now there's only 2 true linebackers on the field, and they bring in a nickel corner. If you have base defense against 12, 21, 22, 13. You're going to have your big defense end, so there's 3 linebackers on the field, and they take out one of the corners, right? So that's what the formations and that's when the personnel really comes into play, is just identifying who's you're going against on the defensive side of the ball.
So basically, the minute you come in and the receiver's like, hey, 11 personnel, somebody will be looking to their sideline to be like, yep, sub's coming in. Or if it's like, because a lot of times 11 is a true sub defense, like you're going to pass the ball, very rarely you're going to run it. But at the same time, like a 12 or a 21 could get you caught in the middle. So that's when it's important to know, do we have 2 tight ends out here? Do we have 2 running backs out here? Because 2 running backs could keep a nickel defense out there. 2 tight ends could bring their base back out. And that's when it's like it plays into different worlds. We have different calls for sub than we do base. And it gets even crazier because in a 3-4 base, when they go nickel, the nose leaves. So now all of a sudden the ends become the tackles, the outside linebackers become the ends. Like everybody flips roles. So you have to know what everybody's labeled. And that's why it's like if you come in as a fullback, you could have the same job as another play as tight end, but sometimes it changes our call or where you're lined up, and that's why it's important. We always have to know who's on the field and who's behind us.
And the last thing I'll say for this is it's really important in the run game installs. Right, so on Wednesday morning, we'll get our run game install for the week, right? And they'll say, hey, these are our base runs, right? So these are our base runs out of 12, 21, 22, 13, and that's one package. And it's like, okay, and then these are our sub runs, right, out of 11, right? So it's two completely different run packages because you're facing two completely different run defenses, right? So that's where that's where the personnel really comes into play on that stuff.
Are those so the in terms of like the numbering of the personnel packages? Is that straight across all offensive systems?
No, because some people use code words.
One of my first, like, I covered the Vikings beat like 10, 12 years ago when Brad Childress had a West Coast system installed.
Yep.
And I feel like they were using words like Eagle and
Detroit.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
What does
And
that?
also-
So what does that mean?
That means Detroit's 12 personnel, right?
Okay.
Some teams just use words instead of numbers. Like, that's just because that's what that coaching tree is used to, right? It was Detroit, Philly, New England. Like, all of those meant the personnel grouping. It just uses words instead of numbers.
BA used to use playing cards, so it was always like clubs or diamonds or hearts or spades, you know. And two, when you go, like, when you bring an offensive lineman into it, you never throw a number system in with that. That's normally like a code word. So like jumbo, you see guys up here like throwing their arms up. That's a jumbo. That means that the offensive lineman, extra O lineman's going to run out there.
Yeah.
It's like it's because it's not normally like normally it only happens down by the goal line. It could happen on third down, but it's not a normal like every down. Hey, we're in 11, let's go. So it's like everyone's got to let everyone know. Hey, we're in jumbo report. A lot of things happen. It's crazy.
yeah, because jumbo you have to report eligible to
That was
an
me.
official, right?
I was
Yeah.
the jumbo tight end my last 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever catch a pass? Did you catch a pass
No, God, no.
in practice?
In practice, yes. Every Friday we'd run our stupid little play, and they'd throw it to me
You
and I'd
banana?
catch it.
Banana.
I never wanted the ball in the game ever, dude. I had so much tape on.
Ever.
No, never wanted.
Oh, you
that.
should have
These
seen his
clubs.
hands. They were
And
like,
your jacked
You've
up
seen it.
fingers, dude.
You've
Yeah.
seen it.
oh.
The ball could lodge in there, you know. with
Hey,
the
hey,
rotation.
Not with as much
Natural
tape as I had on it, dude. As much tape as I had on. My brother used to call me the
Oh.
Ninja Turtle because I just
Yeah.
both gloves were like that.
Donatello out there just trying
Yeah.
to.
It's the worst when they ask you a question. They're like looking at you all like this. You're like, God, dude, that has to be
The
so
worst is
unfair."
when you blow a shoelace or like your shoe comes untied
Trying to
and you're
tie
trying
your
to tie your shoes with like 4 fingers. Oh, you're just like yell at the equipment guy like because you can't get it back on because like you can't like fit your finger in to like push it back. Oh yeah, it's a disaster.
That's where our friends at New Balance are going to come in with some some Velcro offensive lineman cleats, perhaps, maybe. All right, last one here for this episode from Palmer Puff Daddy on the O-Line Committee YouTube channel. Question for you guys. Who were some of the players you played with or against that were insanely good but never got the credit they deserved?
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, instantly, number one name comes to my mind: Delaney Walker. Who remembers Delaney Walker? I
Yeah.
mean, you want to talk? Oh, anytime I can talk about this guy, I love him. I just saw him at the combine. He looks amazing. He was the Swiss Army knife of our team back when G-Bro was there, and the F position was so important, and it was like the guy that moved all around, and he knew everything. You wanted him in there on the tray, you wanted him in there on the pulling counter, you wanted him in there helping pass block, you wanted him catching routes. He was one of the toughest dudes I ever met. He never got a lot of love because we had Vernon, and so Vernon was kind of our staple, but Delaney was the one that always got Vernon in the right spots, or was the one that was distracting everybody else to get Vernon wide open. So it was always like, and he never once, I'm telling you right now, never once complained in a meeting. It was always like, yo, whatever it takes. Had Pomona's sunrise, or the sunset of Pomona tattooed on the front of his chest with the name Pomona and a drop top. He was one of the coolest dudes you ever, he's just always smiling. He ended up, we were playing Seattle. He ended up catching a ball, and a dude hit him and shattered his jaw in the game, right? So he's like holding his mouth, and I'm like, dude, are you all right? And he's like, oh, and all of a sudden everybody just rushed the field, took him away. He had to get his mouth wired. Came back the next year. Dude, I'm telling you right now, badass.
Wow.
Yeah, I got 2 guys that come to mind. Number one for me is, and no one's probably gonna know this guy's name, but we played with him in 2015. You'll know him, Mackey. Rhett Ellison.
Yeah.
Rhett Ellison
Great-
was one of
great
the
hybrid sort of
greatest run blocking tight ends I'd ever played with. Like, he was the one you wanted in there because I've watched him pancake all-pro defensive ends. He'd get lashed up on linebackers and just run them. Like, he was very, very big into the success of why Adrian Peterson was as good as he was too. And then the last one for me is Lorenzo Alexander from Buffalo.
Ooh.
Like he was a guy that like he was a special teams guy majority of his career. And then his last few years in Buffalo, he really turned it on and became a pass rushing guy. He ran all over the place, still played special teams. It was just a tremendous leader. Like those two guys for me were like some unsung guys that never got a ton of credit, mostly because like Buffalo was awful. But Lorenzo was kind of I think he made a couple Pro Bowls as a special teams guy, but like his leadership on that team was bar none.
Yeah.
You know, Alex, you've mentioned and Jeremiah, did you play Sam Bradford? I know he's the number 1 overall pick or whatever, but like I feel like people think of Sam Bradford almost as a bust. You know, he had the weird floppy sleeves, but you've always kind of raved about when he was healthy, and he was.
And that was the thing, dude. He was never healthy. I mean, he was behind some Rams O-lines that were getting him demolished, and so by the time that he came to us, he was pretty broken up. And that was one of the things is like that year was always really strenuous on all of us, but he was going through so much, I feel like, and we were trying to just keep him upright and like watching his, like every now and then we'd pull up old film of his from the Rams and just seeing what he used to be like. Remember when we watched him chase
When he ran down the interception.
Who was it? Roman Harper?
Yeah.
Catches this interception, runs 85 yards, and out of nowhere, Sam Bradford comes and decleats him. And Sam's like, that's right, I used to have some wheels back then. And they used to tell us like he could hang clean like 400 pounds.
Yeah, he showed us
monster.
videos of him power cleaning 405.
He was like a 20-10 high school basketball player too.
Yeah,
like he was
nicest guy. I mean, just super
Love
humble,
Sam.
I love him to death. But this is like the other thing that people don't ever understand is like guys are always so broken. Like you hear people yelling like, "Why did you make that throw?" And you're like, "Dude, you forget this guy took on like 300 sacks before he got here. He is like barely standing up and he's still slinging the ball downfield." Like there's so many guys that had to play through so many injuries, and I feel like took so much heat from everybody. That was like, if you knew how bad this guy's back really felt, I don't think you'd be saying that. And it's like, you just don't understand until, like, even myself, like, I was like, man, Sam used to be a player. And then when I saw him and I talked to him, he was like, dude, you saw some of those hits I took. We played you guys twice a year. You were half the reason I was getting hit like that.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're right. My bad, dude. Like, watching Justin Smith, like, pick him up and body slam him, I'm like, I'm good. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
yeah.
I'll just block him for you. But
Poor guy. Yeah.
there was a lot of guys. I'm trying to think of who else. There had to be somebody here. I'm trying to think of anybody here that we thought that didn't. I mean, everybody here got a lot of credit.
I mean, the only one I would say is Joe Berger.
Oh, Berger was
Joe
a tough
Berger,
dude.
he played 13 years in the NFL as an undrafted
Great
guy
guy.
out of Michigan Tech. Started in Miami, came up, was a multi-year starter really came on that 16, 17, really 15, 16, 17, that run. Like he was pivotal playing both guards and center. And just, I mean, it's nicest guy and didn't get a ton of credit, but just a guy that showed up to work and every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So we have a bunch stockpiled. Keep sending them, and we might at some point we'll probably expand with just like more in an episode or more episodes. We're kind of formulating our regular season plan for O-line committee. So if you guys have ideas for fun bits or segments or things you want to see us clown around and do, or film review ideas, we're constantly monitoring the YouTube comment section. So click the like button, the subscribe button, and please subscribe to our Apple and Spotify podcast feeds too, so you can get the non-film review episodes there. But good stuff, dudes. All right.
Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week.
Back to the ice bag for Jeremiah, and back to wrangling up 11-year-old baseball players. For
That's
Boone.
right. Dad's back. Let's go outside.
All right, guys. O-line committee, an offensive line lifestyle podcast.